Chapter 191, Is it possible to discover a new ability? Zutui walked straight into the bathroom after he returned to the dormitory. He washed his head with cold water before he returned to his room with a cold expression. He slammed the door shut. Zutui had thought that he would only receive some rewards from the celebration party tonight. However, this small episode shocked him greatly. Even now, he could not calm down. On the way back, there was a moment when Zutui really wanted to call in Zhao Saxui and ask her what kind of secret was involved in the study of the abnormal load of mind power that could affect the life and death of Zhao Saxui and Zutui. But he did not call in the end. Firstly, it was stupid and suicidal to ask such an important question over the phone. Secondly, Zutui chose to trust Ah Huang. What Ah Huang said should be true. Zutui learned the details with his Level 1 special rights in the Research Institute number 14. The highest authority in the Research Institute number 14 was the original authority. The original authority could directly order the supercomputer Ah Huang to activate the self-destruction command. Other than not being able to activate the self-destruction command, and Zhao Xu's special rights were basically the same as the original rights. However, Zutui's Level 1 Special Authority had an additional restriction on top-secret information. Special Level 1 rights did not allow access to the top-secret information of the Research Institute number 14. In any case, the information that Zutui could see in the Research Institute number 14 with his Level 1 special rights did not contain any information about the abnormal load of mind power. In other words, Zhao Saxui had known about this for a long time. Therefore, she had restricted Zutui's authority. The third point was also the most important. What could he do if he knew? What could Zutui do even if he did everything he could to find out about the research materials for the abnormal load of mind power project? After thinking for a long time, he came to a conclusion. The most vivid analogy was that a high school student suddenly obtained a complete set of information on a super-armed weapon that was even more powerful than a nuclear bomb. What was the point? He could not understand it. Apart from bringing him endless danger, it was useless. Since it was useless, what was there to be curious about? He might as well seize the time to do something useful to himself. What's a useful thing? Earning money and cultivating the rewards for the actual combat competition, including the honorary contribution points and prize money promised by the school in advance, as well as the additional 100,000 yuans in cash that was added at the last minute at the celebration party tonight, were all received on the spot. In addition to the 630,000 yuans that Zhao Saxui transferred over today, and the balance of 280,000 yuans. Zutui's total assets had once again crossed the million mark and reached 1.06 million. He was worth millions. However, this number gave Zutui a sense of security. It was not even as good as 2 months ago when the number in his account had reached 900,000. At that time, Zutui would only consume 2 bottles of Level E Energy Restoration Elixir a day. At that time, he was free of any debt. At that time, he felt that he was quite rich. But now, Zutui has consumed more than 6 bottles of Level E Energy Restoration Elixirs in a day. He was about to reach the 7th bottle. Now, he has a loan of 600,000 yuans. From today onwards, Zutui would be an elite with a monthly income of over 20,000. He would be the future tall, rich, and handsome man. His net worth was over 1 million. However, he still felt very poor. When he was in high school in Jincheng Prefecture, his parents gave him 100 yuans as pocket money. He felt extremely happy. Zutui missed his high school days. Life at that time was very simple. After a long while, a bitter smile appeared at the corner of Zutui's lips. Could this be the price of growth? We will eventually grow up. Since that's the case, let me become stronger. There's no need for me to be scared of the wind and rain. After spending half an hour, Zutui made a new plan for his cultivation. In the actual combat competition this time, most people only saw Zutui's flying sword and his powerful mind power. However, very few people noticed Zutui's extraordinary reaction speed. His reaction speed of 9 milliseconds was already faster than many second-year seniors. Furthermore, it was also the most important prerequisite for placing the mental all so that Rank Han could kill himself. There was neither. Therefore, the first cultivation direction was to continue to increase his reaction speed. The more genetic base points he activated, the less improvement there would be. Last Tuesday, Zhu Tui activated the fourth genetic base point that was located on his spine. It increased his reaction speed to 10 milliseconds. It was a 3-day training period. When Zhu Tui participated in the actual combat exchange, his reaction speed should have been 9 milliseconds. His reaction speed reached 8 milliseconds when he reached the Neurology Research Center on Friday. In the Neurology Research Center, Zhu Tui, Luo Shifeng, and a few other seniors who were volunteers had completed the most important step of discovering the 8th reflexes type genetic base point replication. Together, they activated the 8th genetic base point of the newly discovered reflexes type. The only difference was that Luo Shifeng had already undergone 3 consecutive days of intensive training with the volunteers. He had also accelerated this process with the help of scientific research drugs and various stimulation training methods. As for Zhu Tui himself, he had only spent slightly more than an hour in the research center before he completed the activation. While he temporarily put an end to this research, Zhu Tui's reaction speed increased from 8 milliseconds to 5 milliseconds. He had undergone intensive training once on Friday and once on Saturday. His reaction speed had increased to 4.3 milliseconds. Zhu Tui estimated that the 5th genetic base point that he activated was actually the 8th genetic base point that he had just discovered. The final increase in his reaction speed was only 4 milliseconds. This improvement was negligible, according to the mainstream opinion of the Wuxia Genetic Evolution College. Regarding the reaction speed of the nerves, such an increase in speed was no longer valuable. Therefore, most people would usually only activate 4 or 5 genetic base points. However, the words that Luo Shifeng casually said after he saw Zhu Tui's improvement left a deep impression on him. The increase of 4 milliseconds is indeed very small, but compared to your original reaction speed, the time it takes for you to make a reaction after the increase is reduced by half. These words were like a stern warning to Zhu Tui. What was the point of continuing to increase his reaction speed? That was the point of increasing his reaction speed. The increase was very small. However, compared to the original speed, the increase was multiplied. What if Zhu Tui activated 1 or 2 more reflexes type genetic base points? What if he increased his reaction speed to 0.1 milliseconds? The opponent's reaction speed was 10 milliseconds, while Zhu Tui's reaction speed was 0.1 milliseconds. Based on the data alone, Zhu Tui's reaction speed was 100 times that of his opponent. What would happen then? Zhu Tui did not know. However, he was looking forward to it. After all, he knew about the 9th genetic base point. He also had a very bold idea. So far, the reflexes type genetic base points had not been combined into a genetic ability chain. This was also the reason why the status of the neurology department was relatively low. If that was the case, would it be possible for Zhu Tui to discover the genetic ability chain of the reflexes type after he activated the 9th genetic base point? Some things could not be achieved just by thinking about it. He had to do it. So far, Zhu Tui has activated 5 of the 9 genetic base points of the reflexes type. He was left with 4. He planned to complete the activation of 3 known reflexes type genetic base points within half a month. He also planned to complete the research and activation of the 9th undiscovered reflexes type genetic base point. Comparatively, Zhu Tui did not have much time to cultivate because of the number of genetic base points he had to activate. Therefore, the second direction of cultivation was to cultivate the ancient genetic energy field and complete the lesser heavenly cycle genetic chain. There were a total of 18 genetic base points. Zhu Tui had already activated 3 of them. He needed 15 more. Completing this could greatly increase his combat defense and survivability. That was his top priority at the moment. In a short period of time, Zhu Tui used 50% of his cultivation time to cultivate the lesser heavenly cycle. The remaining cultivation time was used to activate the genetic base points needed to activate the second level of the Mind Concentration Foundation forging technique. This was the third cultivation direction. Actually, Zhu Tui had a 4th direction of cultivation. It was to activate some genetic ability chains unique to the extreme branch and improve his overall physical fitness. Take his reaction speed for example. Putting aside the fact that his mind power was not restricted, no matter how fast his reaction speed was, he would not be able to unleash it without the corresponding reaction speed of his muscles. He had to activate the relevant extreme type genetic base points to increase his strength. However, Zutui did not have a plan yet. He had to focus on his cultivation. His long-term goal was naturally to continuously improve his ability to develop his mind power. His short-term goal was to complete the Lesser Heavenly Cycle genetic chain and cultivate the first level of the Vira Tide Force Field to greatly increase his survivability. In truth, he was also preparing himself for the clearing missions in the future. He would only consider other things after he completed this short-term goal. He adjusted his cultivation plan. Zutui took out the 6 money-making plans that Jun Ziking had sent him. Under normal circumstances, he would have to spend a lot of time making a choice even if Jun Ziking provided him with a plan and information. The yield and the risks he might have to take, including safety risks, legal risks, and time investment, were things that he had to consider now. Time was actually the most expensive. However, the advanced artificial intelligence, Huang, had already done all these troublesome things for Zutui. Huang listed out the time needed for the 6 plans, the benefits he could derive, and the various risks he had to take. It was clear in one glance. Old Jun, we'll start tomorrow. Arrange the 3rd plan. Zutui sent a message to Jun Ziking.